The following is a Spirit Street production.
Man, seems like every single day something else is happening with the Colorado Buffaloes football program. Transfers coming in, transfers going out. But today we've got Adam Munsterteiger about what is going on with the program. From the outside, there's chaos, but I don't know that there actually is. That's and find out what's he covers Colorado with insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Back, everybody, to Big 12 Insiders. Here, who covers sports. Adam, I gotta believe that over the last, I don't know, let's just call it the last couple of weeks, it has just been a whirlwind of what has been going on there.
It really has. Now, most of these departures were expected. There was this kind of underlying group of guys that were second, third team guys where you were like looking at the eligibility chart on buffstampede.com going, they're not going to start. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to leave. And then the Dylan Edwards news dropped yesterday, and that was a little bit more of a bombshell into this whole thing. Now, Colorado just the day prior got a commitment from Dalen Hayden from Ohio State, and it's like it's more of the emotional connection that folks around here, myself included, I enjoyed meeting Dylan Edwards' parents, his brother, and it's one of those things in the new 2024 landscape of college football. It's very transactional, and it's sometimes cold, and that part of it we don't like. So that part of it was frustrating with Dylan Edwards. Now, is he a every down back? No, he's a special playmaker. But aside from that, there's a couple guys, Alton McCaskill, the fourth. You wish he'd be around because he would be a nice running back, especially with Dylan Edwards transferring out of the program. But generally, these 21 names that have hit the portal, for the vast majority, you kind of expected it.
Gotcha. You know, from outside looking in, people think chaos. Yeah, here that there's tons of transfers going on in the spring transfer portal. I don't think people were expecting 21 guys to leave. I guess the question, and then when Deion came out and kind of said what he said, hey, we're going to be good because these guys were backups. Had taste in a lot of people's mouths because I think people are thinking, hey, hold on a second. College general to have here. So I think that's kind of what some people may or may not be a little bit upset about. But I think there's a different mindset. I bet you have a different spin on, and not necessarily spin, but a different take on it, because I'm not sure that's what he really meant, Adam.
Well, Coach Prime is somebody that we've heard this analogy with Hall of Famers, that they don't make great coaches because they don't understand why the guy out there is not doing X, Y, Z, right? A frustration of, I could do that. Why can't you? Coach Prime is different, but there is still that gene of,
sure,
I know that I went to Florida State and worked my butt off, and I went to the NFL, and I enjoyed going to practice every day. And so when guys show up in this program and they don't want to work, that's a deal breaker.
Right.
Like, in the outside eyes go, what's going on at Colorado? They look at the numbers and they don't really understand the story of each of these guys. And covering this program, I'm going, that guy should have left. That guy should have left. That guy should have left. And yeah, there is the outlier of a Dylan Edwards where you're like blindsided by that news. But generally, the vast majority of the numbers, and I think a lot of programs have that one guy that you don't expect to leave. And so that's where the disconnect comes in. But Coach Prime is going to ask every player that comes into Colorado's program to show him that they want to work, that they want to be great. And if you're not willing to show that, they've all seen the door. And it has been more of a revolving door, I think, than anybody in Colorado's program expected, through these transfer windows, just because you see a JJ Hawkins on the defensive line and you go, okay, you've got a little bit of potential at Ole Miss. Come here, work hard. You're going to get on the field. If it doesn't back up, Cormani McLean, the same thing as a 5-star guy on a different end of the spectrum. That's where kind of the discussion needs to venture towards, is looking at guys that don't work versus guys that work. And a lot of the frustration gets pointed at Coach Prime, and that part of it doesn't seem fair.
Right. Well, the one part that like I said, I know I've told you on many occasions, and I'll tell anybody who listens, I'm rooting for Coach Prime to make it work. I think Colorado is better than what they've shown over the last 15 to 20 years. I think college football is better when Colorado is good. I have nostalgia because when I was growing up, Colorado was a real thing, and I think it can get back there. I would be more overjoyed if they got back there. I think what people are just trying to get used to, Adam, is this whole transfer thing with so many people leaving twice. I think we just have to get used to it as fans, as, hey, yeah, there's going to be a period in December. You're going to lose a lot of guys, but also we're going to get guys. Same thing's going to happen in April. We're going to lose a lot of guys, and we're going to get some guys. To me, again, as a former player, I just find it odd that so many kids are saying, after either in the middle of spring practice or after they go through spring practice, okay, I got to leave. And my whole thing is, I wouldn't invest the time to go through it and then all of a sudden turn around. No, I'm out of here. I'm like, why are you doing that? If you've gone through the spring, the rest of it should be cake from there. Okay, let's figure out a way, see if I can get on the field, but they just don't stick around. And me as a fan, and I think a lot of fans, I put a video out earlier, we just have to change with the times, because I think that's what this is. And maybe Colorado has figured out, you know what? We're ahead of this than everybody else. We get it. People are going to leave, but we're going to have our standards. And no matter what, either you're going to fit in and you're going to do what we're asking, or you're not. We're going to be out there on social media because that's what kids like. We're going to recruit that way. We're going to be out in front of this, but you're also going to come here and work. And I think that's the misconception, Adam. Not enough people think they work, and they really do.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat on the bone there, Brien. I think first off, the transfer portal window needs to get solidified going forward.
Oh, yeah.
So that you tell these college programs, you run your practices through these dates. Initially, the spring transfer window was going to start May 1st. It moved back to April 16th. And so Colorado and some other programs had already kind of scheduled out their spring practice schedule at that point. The other thing is, like Colorado has this YouTube presence, this focus on them, positive, negative, whatever it is. Some guys want to join that, but they don't have that next level intensity to work once they get to Colorado. And so you can get frustrated with Coach Prime and the Buffaloes for kind of this over churn that we see in the roster.
Sure.
A lot of that is guys that just weren't up to snuff. And, they're going to operate Colorado more like an NFL program in terms of, we're going to bring in a few draft picks, which Coach Prime says of bringing in high school players. We're going to bring in the vast majority through the portal. Now, when that guy that you talked to on the phone that said, I'm really, really ready to put in the work, I'm going to be your number one edge guy. And then he shows up to campus, doesn't show up to the team meetings. It's like, okay,
right,
you got to cut bait there. And
right.
That is the downfall to building the roster the way that Colorado is right now, and it's going to lead to this revolving door, which is uncomfortable. I have been covering this sport for 21 years, and I don't like the optics of covering these guys leaving the program. You get to know them, their families, and all that. And the fans do too. You know, they bought Dylan Edwards' jersey through the NIL collective, you know, and he leaves, and that doesn't feel good. But if you're Coach Prime and you're the staff, you're trying to put a team on the field that can compete for a national championship. And if guys are not bought into that factor, they're going to get cut loose. And it's tough to stomach at times, but it makes a lot of sense when you really look at the overall factor in terms of guys not working hard.
Right. Yeah. I think that's another thing that some people don't like is that, you know, they like the old school approach, the old school way of coaching. You know, if a guy leaves, hey, okay, we wish him well, move on. And I think for the most part that Deion's done that. But when somebody takes a shot at him and takes a shot at the program, they have shot back. And I think a lot of people, that makes them uncomfortable. To me, I don't know. There's something to be said for defending your program. And it's not him internally. It's, you know, he sends out a mouthpiece to do that. And I totally understand that. At the same time, I think there's something to be said for just moving on. Look, it didn't work out. We wish him the best. Move on. But displaying how kids aren't working and what they're not doing, no, I get the transparency, but Adam, in your opinion, and again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but to me, it makes it a little bit more difficult because if I'm a parent, it's like, okay, if I go there and maybe my kid is a screw up, well, I don't want the world to know my kid's a screw up. If he's making mistakes, that's fine. And if he has to leave, that's fine. But I don't want you going out there telling the whole world that he's a screw up, you know, when maybe I've got to do a better job as a parent or he's got to do it, whatever the case may be. I think that's where a lot of people also might be having a hard time.
If your kid's a screw up, do not send him to the University of Colorado right now. They're not going to have the patience for that. You gotta, yeah, that is the thing about playing for a Hall of Fame coach is you've got to rise your level to him, like not to that Hall of Fame level, but to a level that is
Hall of Fame mentality,
palatable for a Hall of Famer, right?
I got you.
Yeah, like, and that's part of the thing is every team that I've covered at Colorado has had that 10 guys at the bottom of the depth chart where you're just like, why are they getting all of this scholarship aid? Like, they're not going to contribute anything to this program. And Coach Prime is not afraid to just like, no, that's not happening here. Colorado might not even get to 85 scholarships this year. He is about who can help us out. The NFL has, I think, like a 55-man roster. Right. Like, he is like, the people that are here need to be bought in and help in. You would think even with this transactional nature, this quick turnaround that we've seen with Colorado in other programs during this transfer portal era, you would hope that weeds out a lot of the bad seeds, like where the locker room, even though it's newer, it's fresher. We hear about Colorado's offensive line that's brand new, that's come in, transfers pretty much across the board from Tyler Brown, aside from Tyler Brown that was ineligible last year. This is a group that goes out and does everything together. And so that seems kind of hard to do in this transfer portal nature, but part of it is that Coach Prime is building a roster of like-minded people. And
I got you.
That part of it is a little bit uncomfortable, I think, based off tradition with this sport.
Got it. We're going to take a quick break here, Adam. We'll come back on the other side of this and just kind of touch a little bit more on what you said about Coach Prime attacking this more at a professional or based on it being a professional franchise versus college, and can the new way outweigh the old way? So one word from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Partners. We'll be right back.
At Synergy Financial Partners, The mission is to change the way Americans plan for their financial future. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is Brien Hanley with Tim Munsterteiger. Or Adam Munsterteiger. I'm sorry, not Tim. So, Adam, look, you touched earlier upon, he's working this more as how they do in the NFL. And I think with this transfer portal, the way that it is, I think that fans in general, and I know we've talked about this before, I think they've got to kind of get themselves used to this is how it's actually going to be. I don't believe that the norm is going to be that you're going to have, okay, you get a team or a class of 20 freshmen coming in and 15 of them stay for 4 years. I don't think that's happening anymore. I'm not sure that's going to happen anywhere anymore. You might get the class of 20 freshmen, but the number that are going to stay, you might get 8 that stay 4 years. And I think fans have just got to get on board with understanding, hey, this is changing. This is how it is. This is the rules that they've allowed us to work with. So for us to put the best possible team out there every week to win, this is the best way that we know how to do it. And I think he's doing that. And I think it's ruffling some feathers, but I don't know that ruffled feathers is always a bad thing, Adam.
Yeah, so much of the focus is on Coach Prime and how he's building his roster in Colorado. And there is a lot of focus in this area, Brian, but it's not enough, especially for the Colorado haters of like, the system is broken.
Correct.
That's what's broken. Coach Prime is taking advantage of the system that's been created by the NCAA, not really handling anything since that Ed O'Bannon case.
Right.
And I forget what year that was, but had you gone back there and said, okay, we're going to do full cost of attendance. We're going to do training table the way it's provided at college programs right now. And we're going to, let's bump the stipend a little bit. Like we're getting greedy with this thing. Let's bump that up a little bit. All this could have been avoided.
Correct.
And that's why we got to this point. And so you've got NIL collectives that are lying to young men, not in Colorado, but just across the country. It's
right.
Come play here and get 600 grand. And that 600 grand doesn't hit the bank account,
Correct.
And yeah, they might get some type of incentive to be there, but it's not what was promised to them. You've got these agents now that are taking the 20% cut through NIL, and it just in the portal with guys come and going. There's no clear cut directive. Just yesterday, the NCAA said, okay, now we're going to have waivers for everybody this year. And it's like this moving target needs to get stopped at some point. Otherwise, people are going to become disenchanted with the sport. Like it is a situation where if you're going to be a college football fan in 2024, you have to understand the parameters. Maybe get up, stand up, and let your voice heard and say, I don't want this to be the case for the next 30, 40 years. You go down to conference realignment. Like there's so much that needs to get fixed with this sport that is so beautiful. And they kick off games on Saturday. You just forget about it because it is the best sport that's out there. But at some point, you're going to take advantage of people to the point where they're going to tune you out. And so that's what I'm most concerned with. And not just because it's my job, but just I see the fact that people are now like, I don't love it the way I did 5, 10, 15 years ago. And I hear that so much, and that's disappointing. And I kind of feel covering the sport. I still love it, but I don't know. And even like you go down to like covering practices across the country, it's gotten more and more closed down to media members. Like I got into this because I love football. And I want to be out there. I want to cover spring practices, preseason camp, provide analysis. And now that's even getting cut off because they're scared of the information that's going to get out there on social media. And so there's so many elements of this game that have taking a step back, and it's hopefully going to rebound at some point, but there's a lot to fix with college football.
Yeah, there's a lot to fix with college football. You said a mouthful, and you're 100% right. I talk to a lot of people, and they say the same thing. I just can't love it the way that I used to. I can't like the sport the way that I used to. Now, I put a lot of pressure on fans because I think fans can be better. But fans are the ones that drive the sport. So we can talk about fans all we want, but the fans are the ones that drive the sport. I understand that part of it, but they've got to get used to some of these things changing. And again, the NCAA at some point has to take something into consideration. They've got to take some blame for a lot of this. And it's kind of what you said. I know Prime gets a lot of heat because he's out there, he's in front of it. He doesn't hide. He says a lot of things, and people aren't comfortable with coaches doing that because no coaches ever do that. And he's decided, no, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to be me. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to do things the right way because they're doing things the right way. I mean, every program has, like, those violations that they had. Those were nonsense. What are we talking about? Taking pictures with people or saying a name. I mean, come on, what are we doing? But those are the kinds of things that people get so frustrated with the NCAA is that you'll get mad about something like that, but then you won't fix the transfer portal. That clearly has to be fixed. You won't fix what's going on with NIL. So I get the frustration. I understand that part of it. And the one thing that I want to make clear is because I think people thought that I was going to somehow come on here and bash Coach Prime. I'm never going to do that. I don't think that, like I said, I don't think what he's doing is wrong. I just think it's different. And I think people have to get to the understanding that, hey, he's doing something different. I know you're not comfortable with it, but I'm sorry you're not comfortable. It is what it is. He's not going to change. Have you ever seen Deion Sanders change from what he's wanting to do? He doesn't. And if they are successful this year, which I think they very well might be, I think it's going to be a trendsetter, and I think other people are going to start doing it this way, Adam.
I think that you said a lot there too, Brien. I think that Coach Prime is a trendsetter. And to your point, that's what makes people uncomfortable. And if there is a positive of this, it could be that Coach Prime is really highlighting these are the issues with the transfer portal. Guys can get up and leave, and then they get stuck in the portal maybe. Like there have been a lot of guys from Colorado's program that have landed at non-Power 4 programs, but there's been other guys that have been just completely stuck in the portal. And I'm sure if you're a fan of any college program, you've seen that with guys that think they're better than they are, and they get in that portal thinking there's a better opportunity. They're stuck in there. And so if anything positive comes as a result of this, that's a great thing because again, Coach Prime is dealing with the portal the way unlike most people have in the past.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, Adam, for taking the time to be with us today. I know you've got a lot going on. So anytime that you can make room for Big 12 insiders, we always appreciate it, especially right now, because like I said, I know that you're swamped. So thank you very much.
Anytime, Brien.
All
appreciate you.
We appreciate him being on. We'll take one last break, and we will be back to end the show. One final word from our partners at Synergy Financial.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the vision is to build the world's largest consumer financial education and empowerment company. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right. So there you have it. I mean, there's a lot going on in Colorado. I understand. You guys understand. There's a lot of comments that said that, you know, they like Deion. He was a Hall of Fame player, but not a Hall of Fame coach. Well, let's let it play out a little bit. You know, right now, you're right. I mean, they haven't proven anything on the field. They've said a lot, but they haven't really done a lot. Well, this year is going to kind of be the telltale sign. I've said it before. You got to win 7 games this year, Colorado. Otherwise, you're not moving forward. So whatever's going on there, we can think it's a cultural problem. We don't really know. But once we kick it off in August, at the end of August, we're going to know what's going on there, whether it's good or whether it's bad. I know I'm excited to see it. I know a lot of you guys are excited to see it, so I appreciate that. So thank you guys again for tuning in, man. Remember, as always, like, follow, subscribe, leave those comments. I know there's probably going to be a lot of comments on this one. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Tomorrow, we've got West Virginia and Cincinnati talking about the possible demise of the ACC and who they, as members on the eastern side of the Big 12, who they might like to see in the conference if that were to happen. Appreciate everybody being here. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
This has been a Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.